You wake up and stare at the ceiling. Your body feels heavier than lead. A dark, quiet cloud rests right over your chest. You tell yourself that you should feel thankful. You have a roof over your head, food in the fridge, and people who care. Yet, inside your mind, you feel completely numb. You try to force a positive thought, but it feels like chipping on a broken keyboard, so you give up. You slide it back under the covers, feeling guilty for not being grateful. But the truth is much stranger than that. Your inability to feel thankful right now is not a character flaw. It is not a lack of willpower. It is a physical feature of how depression changes the biological structure of your brain. To understand why this happens, we have to look deep inside your neural architecture. When you experience depression, a specific network in your brain becomes hyperactive. Neuroscience call it the default mode network, or diminish think of the default mode network as your brain's idle engine. It turns on when you are not focused on a specific task. It is responsible for self-reflection, processing memories, and thinking about the future. In a healthy brain, this network switches off as soon as you start doing something active. In a depressed brain, however, the default mode network gets stuck in overdrive. It traps your mind in an endless agonizing loop called rumination. Rumination is when your brain replays past mistakes, analyzes negative feelings, and predicts worst-case scenarios over and over again. This constant mental loop drains your energy and burns through your brain's neurotransmitters. At the exact same time, depression shrinks the activity in your prefrontal cortex. That is the logical, forward-thinking part of your brain responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and perspective. When your prefrontal cortex goes quiet and your default mode network screams, force positive thinking becomes biologically impossible. Telling a depressed brain to just be grateful is like asking someone with a broken leg to run a marathon. The signal simply cannot get through the noise. This is where the actual neurobiology of genuine gratitude changes everything. Gratitude is not an emotion you have to force yourself to feel. In brain science, gratitude is a deliberate cognitive exercise that forces a physical rewiring of your neural pathways. When you practice a specific form of gratitude, your prefrontal cortex fires up. This burst of activity sends an immediate inhibitory signal to the default mode network. It literally forces the rumination loop to quiet down. Scientists have tracked this using functional brain scans. They discovered that targeted gratitude practice stimulates two primary chemical pathways, dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is your brain's reward chemical. It creates the sensation of anticipation and motivation. Serotonin is your brain's mood stabilizer. It regulates feelings of safety, calm, and contentment. When depression lowers these neurotransmitters, your brain loses its ability to feel pleasure or drive. A single moment of genuine appreciation acts like a targeted microdose of these exact chemicals. Now, here is the counterintuitive turn that changes how you approach your mental health. If you try to write a massive list of 10 big things you are grateful for while feeling depressed, it will backfire. Your brain registers the gap between how you feel and what you are writing, triggering alarm bells. To bypass this barrier, you must practice what neuroscientists call sensory microgratitude. You do not focus on big, abstract concepts like your career, your future, or your life goals. Instead, you bring your attention down to a single, concrete, physical sensation in the present moment. Notice the warmth of a hot cup of water against your hands. Feel the physical support of the chair under your back. Listen to the rhythmic sound of rain hitting the window pane. When you anchor your attention onto a tiny physical detail, your sensory cortex takes control. Your brain cannot process an acute thread loop and a real physical sensation at the exact same millisecond. That tiny 5-second pause interrupts the default mode network. It builds a small neural bridge between your survival brain and your prefrontal cortex. You do not need to feel happy while doing this. Happiness is not the goal. The goal is simply to give your brain a physical break from the rumination wheel. Over days and weeks, these micro moments accumulate. Your brain release on neuroplasticity's natural ability to form new neural connections based on repeated experiences. Every time you practice microgratitude, you strengthen the neural highway for calm and emotional regulation. At the same time, the old highways for rumination and negativity loops begin to weaken from disuse. Look at how you talk to your mind on difficult days. Are you beating yourself up for not feeling happy? Or Are you giving your brain the tiny physical resets it needs to rebuild? Gratitude is not about pretending your pain does not exist. It is about giving your nervous system a quiet place to rest so you can slowly find your way back.